July reading wrap up. Yeah. And I think they're in a very toxic relationship and they should not be together. It was just horrible. Like, don't read this book. I was like, oh my gosh. Like, literally my blood turned cold. Now, this book has been described as unhinged, as gory, and it was none of those things. Hello everyone, hey, hi, hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ivy, also known as the Geek Goddess here on YouTube, and today we are going to be going over my July reading wrap up. Yeah. So during the month of July, I read a total of 11 books, which I am so happy about. The majority of them were read during Summerween, so I'm so grateful to have participated in that readathon because I read a lot of books during that readathon, and we're going to be going over them. And usually the way that I do this is I start with my DNFs, then go to 1 star, 2 star, 3 star, 4 star, and then finally my 5-star reads. So let's go ahead and get started with the DNFs for this month. So getting started with my DNF, I had one DNF in July, and that was We Live Here Now by Sarah Pinborough. And this one I literally got, I still have my bookmark here because I maybe want to go back to it one day. I got 122 pages in, which is about halfway into this book. And this is a soft DNF, okay? So let me tell you what this is about, and then I'll tell you my thoughts, and I'll tell you why I DNF'd it. So we are following our main character. We're following two characters. We're following a husband and a wife. We're following Emily, and we're following Freddie. So Emily is the wife, Freddie's the husband. So Emily has just woken up from a coma. Pay no attention to my broke nail. So we are following Emily and Freddie, and basically Emily has just woken up from a coma, and she can't really remember what happened that caused her to have the coma until she starts having these reoccurring nightmares. Now, also, on top of that, the doctor told her that she might start experiencing some hallucinations and that that's normal and she shouldn't worry about it too much. She might hear, see, smell, see things that aren't really there. And so her husband thinks it's a great idea to up and move them to this random new house that apparently Emily wanted to move into before she went into the coma. And so they move into this creepy big mansion in the middle of nowhere. And sure enough, she gets left alone a lot because her husband works and, she just woke up from the coma. So she's not working. And she starts seeing things and hearing things and feeling things are they hallucinating? So she starts to tell her husband about it. Her husband doesn't believe her, calls the doctor. Things happen during this book. However, this book was just so slow paced. I couldn't stand the characters. Emily is pretty annoying. Freddie, the other main character, the husband, is also very annoying. I can't stand either one of them. I think they're both horrible people, and I think they're in a very toxic relationship and they should not be together. But yet, so I had just gotten over a reading slump in June. So going into this one, it was putting me back into a reading slump because I was feeling myself not wanting to read more and more and more. So like not wanting to grab it. So I was like, okay, we need to stop this book. And I put it down. And sure enough, I am in a bit of a reading slump now because of this, even though I didn't finish it. So that is my one DNF, soft DNF. Hopefully when I start reading better and I'm completely out of this reading slump and I'm on a roll, I will finish this. But as of right now, it's a DNF. It's a no man for me. Okay, so now we are going to be moving on to my 1 stars. I have one 1 star, okay? And that is going to be a book that we read for my In Real Life book club. I didn't choose this. Another woman chose it. And it is Pizza Girl by Jean Kyung Fraser. If you guys are one of those girlies, people that like weird girl lit, you might like Pizza Girl. So far, the 2 weird lit books that I've tried, which is this one and Bunny, I have not been a fan of. So I don't know if weird girl lit is just not for me, or I don't know, these books are just flops. But in this one, we are following our main character. Okay, so you actually don't even learn her name till the end of the book. So we are following our main character, who is a 18-year-old pizza girl, pregnant pizza girl. And she basically is working at this pizza place, and then she sees a 38 or 39-year-old woman that comes in. Her name is Jenny, and she becomes absolutely obsessed with this woman who has a son who always orders pickles on his pizza. And so our main character decides to make this pizza for this little boy because Jenny asked her to. And then she starts forming this friendship, this bond with Jenny, and it becomes a infatuation, obsession, and it's just so, I don't know. It went from like random thoughts, right? One of those like ongoing thought books. It's just like I don't know, it's just thought after thought, to like, what the F is happening at the very end, because I don't understand how we went from 0 to 100 real quick, and a lot of things just did not make sense in between that little short span of time. It was just horrible. Like, don't read this book. Unless you like weird girl lit, do not read this book. Literally, I was hesitant from the get-go because it has a 3.3 on Goodreads. Okay, so that had me at a pause from the very beginning. However, I have enjoyed books that Goodreads has rated low before, so I was like, okay, let's give it a try. Maybe. No. So so that's my 1-star read. So now we are moving on to my 2-star. So for my 2-star reads, I have one book for that as well, and it is a tiny little novella, and this one I also read for Summerween, and that is Mapping the Interior by Stephen Graham Jones. Now this book, here, I'll put it like this. Will it stay? It will stay, yes. Okay, so now this book we are following, so I'm finding, I've read 2 books by Stephen Graham Jones thus far, and I have not enjoyed either one of them. I don't know, I feel like it's his writing style. Like, his writing style is just not for me. I feel like his writing style is pretty blunt. Like, I don't know, just like blunt, straight to the point, not too overly detailed. I don't know how to explain it. You know what I mean? Like, it's like his books kind of feel like they're mansplaining to me, and I just don't like it. So I don't know if Stephen Graham Jones isn't for me, but I tried reading this one, giving him another go, and I didn't like it. And so I have another book by him, Buffalo Hunter, that I'm like, should I just get rid of this, or should I attempt to read it? Because this is like a 400-page plus book, so I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do with that one. But in this one, we are following our main character, who is a 12-year-old boy, and he lives in a Native American reservation. I forgot what his name is. Junior. Okay, so his name is Junior, and he lives there with his mother and his little brother in this reservation. And so basically, when our main character Junior was younger, I believe when he was 8 years old, he saw his dad, like his dad, like, is unalive, right? He ends up passing away. And now that Junior is 12 years old, he starts seeing the ghost, the spirit, something, the essence of his dad show up in their house again. And so you see Junior try to keep his dad alive and in the world, right? And it turns out that his dad might not exactly be, a ghost, but something a lot more darker, sinister. And yeah, so I wanted to like this book. It had a lot of things that I didn't like. For example, one of my biggest triggers is when something happens to a dog, and something happens to a dog, multiple dogs in this book. And so that might be like the biggest thing that kind of threw me off, because I hate when people attack dogs. Like, I hate when anything happens to a dog. I just didn't like it. So this was a 2-star read. I don't know. Maybe Stephen Graham Jones is just not my vibe. Okay, so now we are moving on to my 3-star books because we have a few of those. So let's start off with the books that I do not have physically. So the first book that I want to talk about is Crossroads by Laurel Hightower. This is a book that I listened to on audio, and it was like a 3-hour read or something. It was very short. Also read this for Summerween. And in this one, this is like a grief horror about a mother who loses her son, and then she hears this thing on the radio or something that like says, if you go here, you will be able to like resurrect a loved one, but you know, there's consequences for it. So she gives a little bit of her blood to these crossroads, and her son ends up coming back from the afterlife, right? And so, but every time the son comes back, the sacrifices become even more and more larger and darker until, you know, it becomes like a little too much for the mother. And it's like, is she willing to like give the ultimate sacrifice to save her son? So this book was really good. I enjoyed it. I don't know, what lost me was the ending, but the more I think about it, the more I liked it. I think originally, yeah, the more I think about it, the more I'm like, okay, this was pretty good. This was a pretty dark book. Don't expect a happy ending with this one. Expect dark, bleak darkness when it comes to this book, but I did enjoy it. So I ended up giving this one a 3 out of 5 stars. It was pretty good. It was pretty good. Moving on to my other 3-star read. My other 3-star read that I'm going to show you guys is That Time That I Got Drunk and Yeeted a Love Potion at a Werewolf. This is book 2 in the Med Mishap series. Book 1 being That Time That I Got Drunk and Saved a Demon or whatever. So in this one we are following our main character. This is Cinnamon's friend from the first book. Her name is Bree, right? Yeah, her name is Bree, and Bree is at this like bar when all of a sudden this guy comes up to her and he tries to give her a love potion, but she grabs it, she yeets it, and it hits this werewolf right in the face, and so he ends up like falling in love with her, and he swears that it's not the love potion, that it's actually his mating bond with her. And thus a series of events ensue. This book was really, really fun. However, I didn't really enjoy the love. Bree, I absolutely loved. I loved Bree. However, I just did not love the main character as much as the first book. I did enjoy following the same characters from the first book and seeing how their relationship is now. But I don't know, I didn't like the plot as much, and I didn't like the love interest as much. The smut scenes, though, were top tier. They were great. This is more like a 3.5, I guess you want to say. It was pretty good, but nothing like over the top amazing. This is like, you know what I mean? A very nice, easy, soft, cozy, romantic-y book. Okay, so moving on to, I think that's it for my 3 stars. So we're going to move on to my 4 stars. So number 1 for my 4 stars is going to be Middle of the Night by Riley Sager. So this book, I'm doing a reading vlog for Riley Sager, whether Riley Sager is worth it or not. I have done a few of these. I've done it with Frida McFadden. I've done it with Grady Hendrix, and I'm also going to be coming out with the Abby Jimenez one. So I'm doing it with Riley Sager, and I'm doing it for Nat Cassidy as well, where I do a analysis of the authors and if I think their books are worth it, and I read quite a few of their works. And so I read Middle of the Night, and this one we are following our main character. What is his name? Ethan, right? And Ethan, when he was 10 years old, him and his best friend Billy had a little backyard camping trip, right? They both had tents and they slept in the backyard. But then Ethan woke up in the middle of the night and he noticed that Billy's tent was kind of like slashed in half, as if somebody had slashed it. And then I believe like 20 years later or 30 years later, Ethan comes back to this hometown and the mystery is still not solved. But then people start to see Billy appearing all over the city. And then he starts to get very strange messages from what he thinks is Billy. And so he's like, oh, what the heck is happening? and thus a series of events ensue. This book I really, really liked. I like how Riley Sager takes little, like, he takes thriller elements mixed with a little bit of like horror and like supernatural, and like he really blurs the lines between like fact and fiction and supernatural and daily mundane worldly things. And I really liked this one a lot, so I really enjoyed it. I ended up rating it a 4 out of 5 stars. The plot twist, the biggest plot twist wasn't, you know, what happened with Billy. The biggest plot twist ended up being something else that I was like, whoa, my jaw dropped to the floor. I was literally on a walk and I literally had to stop, and I was like, what the heck, did I just hear that right? And I rewinded my audiobook, and yes, I heard it right. So I was like, oh my gosh, like literally my blood turned cold. So Riley Sager is really good with his plot twists. I really enjoyed this book a lot. So 4 out of 5 stars for that one. The next book that I'm going to be giving a 4-star to is going to be Elantris by Brandon Sanderson. That is another one that I listened to on audio. Another one that's going to be in another reading blog that I have coming out in, I believe it's going to be November that I come out with this one. And in this one, we are basically following this town that used to be ruled by what people thought were gods, and it was called Elantris because these people were, I believe, like immortal or something like that. And it ends up being, the town ends up going bad, right? They end up like starving the people, and then one person wakes up, and it ends up being the prince of the other kingdom, and he ends up in Elantris, and he sees all these people that are suffering, and they cannot die, right? They cannot die because they're basically immortal in Elantris. And he's like, okay, how can we save these people? And then meanwhile, on the other hand, we have a series of different characters. One is a priest who wants to take down the people of Elantris. We have a princess who wants to do good for her kingdom. She was supposed to marry the prince, right? She was supposed to marry the prince. Her prince ended up passing away. He ends up being the one, he's the one that's in Elantris. I don't think that's a spoiler. I think you learned that like pretty early on. And we see her trying to rebuild the kingdom after the prince passes away. Even though she never truly married him, she still feels like it's her responsibility and her duty. And then we have the prince that is in Elantris trying to heal Elantris. So we have these very different various cast of characters. I really enjoyed this book a lot. The princess, I forgot what her name was. She has a really strange name, like Savini. What is her name? Something like that. Savini, something like that. I really loved her character. She was like so feminist. Like, I'm not going to let a man tell me what to do. I don't care if you think you're more powerful than me. Just because I'm a woman does not mean that you can just walk all over me, and I'm going to obtain my place in whatever I want. It doesn't matter what's between your legs, because I am a person that is worthy of that power. Even though I'm a woman, I don't give a shit. So I really liked that about this book. I loved the story, the concept. Like, Brandon Sanderson did such a good job. I read this book like last year, but I DNF'd it like about 25 to 30% in. So I'm glad that, I think it was just the timing, because now I reread it and actually finished it, and I loved it so much. The next 4-star that I have for you is Frankenstein by Junji Ito. This is a Junji Ito's version of Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. Now, I read Frankenstein years ago. I was probably a teenager, or like 18 or something. And I didn't really like it. Maybe I just didn't understand it. But I decided to read the Junji Ito version, and of course it was absolutely terrifying. Junji Ito has a way of creating these illustrations and making them so spooky and creepy, and he definitely took the Frankenstein story and made it even darker, like a lot darker. And then on top of that, you have 6 additional short stories that he put in here, including one of his childhood dog, I believe. So I really like this book a lot. Junji Ito, he's always very on top of creating like he's really on top. Like, he's literally like the king of Japanese horror. So I pretty much enjoy everything that he's ever written. I don't think I've ever been disappointed with anything that he's written that I've read thus far. So I really enjoyed it. So 4 out of 5 stars for Frankenstein. Okay, so the next 4-star book that I have for you is going to be Scythe and Sparrow by Brynne Weaver. This is the 3rd book in the Ruinous Love trilogy. So I finally completed the trilogy. Yes, I completed the trilogy, you guys. I'm so happy. And it was okay. So this one we are following two other characters from the first 2 books, and I don't want to say who because I don't want to give anything away, but just know that this book was probably my favorite of the series. Our main character was my favorite, and what I liked about this book specifically that was different from the other 2 books is that the other 2 books, the main like people are already proclaimed serial unalivers, you know, like they already have a name for themselves, versus in this book we are following a character who still has not, like, who's still barely learning how to unalive someone. You see their first, you see their first unaliving and how messy it is, and you see them get the thirst for it and start to do it more frequently. Like, it's so good. It is so good. So that's Scythe and Sparrow by Brynne Weaver. Let's move on to 4.5 stars. 4.5 stars. So we have Rest Stop by Nat Cassidy. This is a 4.5 star read. This is a tiny little novella that Nat Cassidy wrote in my first Nat Cassidy, and I actually really liked it. We are following our main character who is basically on the road to go see his grandma or something like that, who is like in the hospital, and he's on the road in the middle of the night, and he ends up stopping at a gas station to get some snacks and to get some gas. However, he notices that the person that's supposed to be working at the gas station is not there, so he ends up going to the restroom. And he's like, okay, I'm just going to go to the restroom. I'm going to take some snacks and I'm going to leave some money there so that I can be on my way. And so he goes in the restroom and then he hears a lock. And then he ends up being stuck in the restroom with a serial unaliver. Now, this book has been described as unhinged, as gory, and it was none of those things. It was not unhinged to me. I've read books that were way more unhinged than this was. I've read books that are way more gory than this was. So that's the only disappointment that I had in it. If it hadn't been for that, this could have potentially been a 5-star, but because I was so misled by the descriptions and the blurbs, that's why I had to knock off at least like half a star for that. But however, it was still a very enjoyable, fast read, and I read it in like a day. Okay, so now I think I kind of want to make these 2 books 5 stars. One, I'm going back and forth if this is a 4.5 or a 5-star. I think I'm just going to give it a 5-star because I'm still thinking about it till this day. And that is Bat Eater and Other Names for Cora Zeng by Kylie Lee Baker. This takes place during the COVID times, and we are following our main character, Cora Zeng. And Cora Zeng is basically on a train subway station with her sister. They had just gotten toilet paper because, you know, you couldn't find toilet paper anywhere in the United States during the whole pandemic time. And then all of a sudden, somebody shoves her sister, Delilah, in front of the subway, and she ends up being in pieces, right? And then Cora Zeng has to deal with that trauma. And on top of that, there is something called the Hungry Ghost Festival, which you have to feed these hungry ghosts of your ancestors or people that have passed away, loved ones that have passed away. You have to feed them paper, like paper foods, or give them offerings of paper, or else they will continue to haunt you. And then we see that Delilah, Cora Zeng's sister, ends up starting to haunt Cora Zeng. And so this book was really another one that was also really good. It had so much social commentary on like the Asian community and like how much like people were just jerks. You know what I mean? Like after they started calling it the you-know-what virus, like everybody started, discriminating and just being horrible to like the Asian Americans. And it was just like, it had so much commentary on that, and I really loved it because of that. I love books that have commentary on bigger issues that we are still facing in the world today. And so that's why I really enjoyed this book. Plus, I really enjoyed Cora Zeng as a character. She kind of reminded me of the main character from Convenience Store Woman, which is one of my favorite books of all time. I don't know what it is about that book, but I absolutely love it so much. Still think about it till this very day. And because of that, it just has a very special place in my heart. And I loved it so much. And you can see I tabbed it. So that is going to be one of my 5-star reads. And next, last but certainly not least, my other 5-star read for the month of July is going to be The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. This year, 2025, has been the year of reading classics and loving them. I have not read that many classics. I've read 2 so far. But of the 2 classic books that I have read, I have loved both of them. I gave one, Carmilla, 4 out of 5 stars, and 4.5 out of 5 stars, and I gave this one, The Hobbit, 5 stars. This book is so whimsical, and like, I know it was originally written as a children's book, and you can see that. Like, you can see the fairy tale children aspects of it, yet it still somehow feels mature. You know what I mean? It's a tale that I feel like whether you are a child, whether you are an adult, whether you are in between, you will enjoy the story. Like, this is just such a beautiful story of friendship and adventure, and, you know, how you don't realize the little things that you have until it's, you know, not there anymore. And it's just so beautiful. And I recommend listening to the audio version of this, because whoever narrated the audio version, they did Gollum's voice spot the F on. Like, I loved listening to the audio. It was so beautiful, so perfect. And I usually listen to my books on 2.0. I ended up listening to this book at a 1.5 speed because I was enjoying it that much that I slowed it down. So that speaks volumes, okay? So I really enjoyed this. If you guys have not read The Hobbit and you guys are interested in reading The Hobbit, I say do it. To be honest, I have watched the Lord of the Rings franchise. In fact, I used to be obsessed with them when I was younger, when I was little. And I never actually watched the Hobbit movies. So I'm actually very excited that I managed to read the books before ever watching the movies, because now I can actually watch the movie and compare it to the book. So I'm really excited to have read this. I'm really excited to finally be watching the movies. And it was just, I was expecting to maybe like it, it might be okay. I was not expecting to love it this much. I absolutely love this book. It was so good. It's so beautiful. Such a fantastic story. And even though it has dark themes, it still feels like a very light-hearted read for some reason. I loved it. So highly recommend this one to anyone. So that's it, you guys. Those are the 11 books that I read during the month of July. Let me know, what was your lowest rated book for July and your highest rated book for July. Let me know down in the comments below. If you haven't yet, please make sure to subscribe. It really helps out my channel. Hit that like button. If you got to the very end, leave a mountain emoji for the Hobbit down at the very bottom to let me know that you got to the end. And then, of course, I have all my other socials. I just started a Bookstagram account, so you can follow that down there. I have my book talk, I have my Amazon wish list, I have my Goodreads, all of that jazz down below, so make sure to check that out as well. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!